Greetings, folks. A little explanation and introduction about the Archetype model, which I'm now creating to order and in small batches. And these things are coming out amazing. They're very unique in the way they play and optimized to a great degree of precision. Hand finished, exactly the way I like a piece to play. My goals with the Select Collection were to take the absolute best playing pieces or the most hard to find and interesting pieces, and hopefully those two things intersect and we have the best of both worlds. But to take those hard to find, interesting, and best playing pieces and preserve them, recreate them, and improve upon them, and make them available to people who wouldn't necessarily have access to them, because after several decades of mouthpiece hunting, I know how hard it is to find the thing you want, the right thing, the rare thing, and the piece that plays great. It is not all that easy. So the piece I decided to start with was, of course, the Quadring Autolink, which there has really just got to be a few of them in existence. The Quadring Autolink is a transitional mouthpiece. It is the prototype of the Super Tone Master. You see, this one says Super Tone Master on it. This was immortalized in a photograph by Chuck Stewart from 1963, showing Coltrane playing this piece. Although it looks slightly different, that one has, let's say, I don't know how many rings, maybe 5, or each ring is kind of like a double cut. But it is the same mouthpiece. It is the same transitional mouthpiece with basically the full-length ridge. You know, the Tone Master has a ridge cut off, it's shortened, okay? And these have the full-length ridge here, which is indicative of the Super Tone Master. So the first one is says Tone Master, and it has a full-length ridge on the top, and that's in the Coltrane picture. And I've played that mouthpiece, and it is worked over. So it's worked within an inch of its life. There's not a whole lot of metal left on that piece, and it doesn't function. It's burned out. It's a very interesting piece of history. So I've played that piece, doesn't play. I heard tell of somebody else who had a Quadring like this, but I don't know whether it was finished. I know somebody got a box of leftover pieces from Autolink that was left somewhere, that has some quadrings, but they are rough. They are unfinished, unproduced, basically just castings with no finish, no serial number, and those castings are very, very rough. They have big, seams on them, and they're basically doorstops. You can't get an Autolink casting and think it's going to play. It requires an Autolink finish, and the chamber has to be finished properly. So those aren't even, the insides aren't even finished properly. So it's like there's no map. You're never going to know how those things were intended to play, because whoever, if somebody were to do something with them, they'd just be, speculating as to what it's supposed to look like inside. And that is not accurate. So this one I was lucky enough to get, and it has a serial number. I don't know if you can see. There it is, W20. Okay, serial number W20. So this was produced for sale. Obviously, somebody bought it and had a serial number, and it was set up to play. So everything has been set up inside. It's all clean and nice, and it actually played when I got it. Although somebody had faced it. Somebody, had done something to it, and, it wasn't terrible. They didn't ruin it, thankfully. They didn't ruin it, but it wasn't the greatest either, So I went through and just optimized it and kind of cleaned up the facing and the baffle. One of the things here is when I got it, the work that had been done, the baffle area was kind of amateur, amateur hour. It was kind of flat and sharp, a sharp, sudden change of angle, sort of like a what we call a step baffle or a shelf baffle, but badly done. So it wasn't even level. So that was kind of crappy. But when you have a situation like that, you can't add metal back onto it. They had making it a little bit too flat for my taste. That's not how you would see a baffle in this model period from Autolink. A lot of these pieces coming from Tone Master to Super Tone Master double ring New York, A lot of them didn't have any baffle at all. They were just a straight shot. But then you do get the pieces that are original, double ring, New York, even Tone Master with a big baffle in them. I've got a number of those here. They just have a huge baffle, and it's all original. It's plated and everything. So there's quite some variance. You'd get some without any baffle at all, and then you get some with a pretty significant baffle, and they play very bright. It's just maybe who was working on it that day. They had cut a sort of a baffle into it, and it's not level, it's kind of wavy, and it's abrupt, and it took too much metal off, meaning it's flat. And all the baffles from this period, if the pieces even have the baffles, the best ones do have baffles. They play with more presence. But all the baffles from this period will be a gradual rollover. You won't see any abrupt shelf baffle or any of that stuff.
I'll give a few examples for comparison. This is kind of interesting. These on the left are Tone Masters. These are early model Tone Masters. Unfortunately, I do not have a late model, quote-unquote, improved Tone Master here to look at. But it's the same thing, basically. These two specifically have rather large baffles as far as Tone Masters go. They often do not have any baffle, but they can. As you can see, that's got quite a rollover. It's got a hump. And as a result, this piece plays great. The ones without the baffles play a little more tubby. These things have more presence. That is not a shy baffle. For a Tone Master, that's really big. It is pronounced. It is a hump and it's a rollover. Even got a little clamshell going on. And then we got this one. And again, here we have a rather pronounced and slightly uneven baffle. It's bigger on the right than it is on the left. Nonetheless, it is not small. That is a significant baffle, especially for a Tone Master. The improved or later model Tone Masters are the same. A lot of them have no baffle, and then you get the rare one that has a big rollover, and it plays great. And so here, now we look at the Quadring, which would have come right after the Tone Master. And as I said, this was probably produced as a 4 or a 5, a small mouthpiece. What we have here is not the traditional baffle style on this original piece here. I mean, it's not original facing, but it is the original Quadring. And the baffle style is more of a shelf. It is not the rollover hump style that we see on Tone Masters. It's quite likely that the Quadring could have been produced with no baffle and just left up to the discretion of the person who was setting it up at Link at that particular time. So here is the Archetype, okay, and we'll revisit that in a second. But let's look at what would have come directly after Quadring. So there's here we have Quadring, and now we're going to go to New York Double Ring, which is, so Quadring is the prototype Super Tone Master. As we see, we'll take this Archetype out of here for a minute, and we'll look here. Okay. It is written differently, but that's it. Quadring on the left is the prototype Super Tone Master. That's the first time they had super there. And there is the New York Double Ring with the long bite plate. So let's take a look now at this one, because this is an interesting piece. This is an original 6 with the original finish and all the, well, a lot of the original plating. We can see it's got a very short baffle. See that? It's like baffle kind of starts right here. Okay, you find this type of short baffle on a lot of slightly later pieces that were produced, finished by Wolf Tannenbaum, or at least they used his name. That was the style. They put a short baffle and a short facing, and those things played great. But that facing was aggressively short, so it had a whole different style of playing. But you can see this piece has like a really short little baffle there. It's sort of a roll, sort of flat, but it's very short baffle, almost no baffle. And it does play rather tubby. Now we have, from the same era, another New York. We can see it looks different though, right? It's different blank. So they have changed the length of the cut on this shank, and the rings are much further back. I've seen some of these. These are not super common, these blanks. But, you know, this is in the same time period. The New York Supertone Master was not, the double ring New York was not produced for a whole long time before it went to Florida. So anyway, this is in the same time period. And again, this is a 6. And we look at this one, and there is an absolutely huge rollover baffle. It starts all the way back here. So it's a really long rollover. And it's really quite high. For a mouthpiece like this, you don't expect to see that at all. And this thing plays incredibly with a lot of presence. So we do have a lot of variance. So when we look at the archetype finish in that context, what we're doing is we're taking the best examples of the link finish and putting it on this mouthpiece to give it the best chance to play its best. And that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to just recreate it with all the flaws, meaning somebody else had worked on it already and the baffle wasn't good. I'm going to give it the best fighting chance to be a great piece. Original quadring on the right and the archetype on the left. And if we go up here, you can see where the baffle starts. On the original, there's a bit of an abrupt angle. Right there, you can see the reflection. It's like a corner in the baffle. That might be appropriate for a USA or early Babbitt link. It's after this. And with the larger chamber, you need that material there to give you some more presence. So if you take a look at what I did with the archetype, you'll see it just rolls and rolls and rolls. You don't want it to stick up like a huge hump, you know, but there is going to be a point where the angle starts, but you want to roll it. You can see you've got a corner here on the quadring on the right, and then it's like a flat face. That's also kind of uneven. It's not a particularly well done one. And given that I received it this way, I did my best just cleaning up the tip and cleaned up the facing and then left it because I don't want to take anything else off it. And anything else you do to that to try to make it look more level, you're just still removing material, which is something I wouldn't want to do to this piece because there's really just, I don't know, this may be the only one that was really produced for sale ever. For all I know, I'm not sure.
So what I wanted to do was reproduce this piece because nobody can get it. It's an unavailable missing link. And it plays phenomenal. This is a wonderful piece. It doesn't play like a tone master. And it's not exactly like a New York Supertone Master either. It's actually a little more focused, oddly enough. So what I did when I reproduced this was we actually went into the modeling and we added back that metal that should have been on the baffle that Mr. Amateur Hour took off there. We added in that metal so that I could hand work a rollover baffle. And that's what you see on these pieces. We're putting a period-appropriate best case finish at the tip. Sure, plenty of pieces at this time would have had no baffle at all, but the best ones, the ones that are most fun to play, would have had a baffle, and the baffle they would have in them would look like these. But what I did was I put some material back on in the model to allow me to hand finish them the way this one should have been done. I did replace that material on the archetype, as you can see here, and rolled it all the way to the tip. So that adds quite a bit of presence. That's a very nice offset to the chamber, which is on the large side. This quadring here, the original, was probably produced in like a, we're talking a size 4, right? That would have been standard, a 4, a 5, something real small. So that when whoever faced it, they opened it up a bit. I think when I got it, it was about a 96 opening. So someone had opened it. And I cleaned it and took it to, optimized it and took it to 98. The starting point for the reproduced pieces for the archetype is about 90. It starts about 95, but that's we leave it a bit rough, and we expect I expect to cut them to anywhere from 95 to 98, and we've got 102 and 103. They work well at those sizes.
Here we have a batch of archetype mouthpieces. Some of these are waiting to be gold plated. So this is serial number 1. This is number 2. Serial numbers on the other side on this one. This one's a B stock piece for someone who wants something a little bit darker. 3 and 4 were sold. So 5 is 102.
102.
'97.
97.
'7, '98.
98.
'8 is another 95.
And 95.
And 9 is a 99.
99.
So a bunch of these are waiting for gold plating, and we're going to see how those come out. And we have a range of sizes, real small nuances between the size, but they are remarkably consistent in the way that they play.
It's been many years to get it off the ground, a little slower than it should have been, but it's been a real project of interest. It's not a big moneymaker. It's a niche project for people who want to get this rare piece, and I'm making them small batch only because I'm hand finishing every single one and play testing and everything. It's quite extensive what I'm doing. And they're very consistent. They play in a certain way, really exactly like the original Quadring, with a little more presence. And I've sort of optimized the special facing to match the chamber. Oddly, they do not play tubby. They are fast, and they are edgy, but they are fat. And it's quite an interesting project. And we're going to have more available now. Now we're starting to have groups of them. So I'll get some out there to some good players. We got a couple people have them already. And we'll be sending them around. And talk to me if you're interested. We got a bunch of sizes here. We've got 95, 97, 98, 99, and 102. And some other sizes out there floating around that people have. I can make them size to order within reason. Somebody asked about a 110, and I was like, okay, that's getting bigger for this model, but we actually can make a separate iteration that has a little more room on the tip to work on. So they're available. Anyway, talk to me.